But we know it was at this time that they were given relief from the bondage of the Egyptians. As I said, they took back what was rightfully theirs, but not only that, the Egyptians suffered a severe hardship at that time, which was the loss of all of their firstborn, of their children, and of all their livestock. Now, this was an awakening to the Pharaoh to release the children of Israel. This was like a last final arm twisting, you might say, to release the children of Israel, because the Israelites to the Egyptians were their sustenance. That's where they were their slaves. That's where they gained their wealth. That's how their cities were built. That's how they lived. The Egyptian was basically living like a parasite or a sponge off of the Israelites. As we know, that is the situation today. We don't call them Israelites. They're you could call them Edomites, if you will. But it was basically not just in our day. It is not just the elite forces, the elite people known as Edomites. It is basically many of the black populations. Almost all races that are non-white are living off of the Israelite in one way or another. So they're not going to release the Israelites very easy, as Pharaoh would not. So we expect to see great things happening for the Israelite people if we do indeed follow the word of the God of Israel and follow his ways. We have the promise of that release. We have the promise of the conquering of these people. We have the promise of this land. It is our own fault it was taken away from us. And by his power and by following his word, I know it will be taken back again, and it will once again be ours. Yeah, we've lost a few battles, but the war is far from over. And as we know how the book ends, the day is coming. But we remember in the year 2015, we remember that 15th day. We remember what happened. We remember what occurred on that day. It was technically the 14th at midnight, when the justice was dealt to the Egyptians, to the oppressors. But back to what I was originally saying about it was the death of the firstborn. We remember some time back among the Israelites, the oppressors of the Israelites had ordered the slaughter of thousands of Israelite babies. You might say it was a extremely late term abortion, as now is happening among our Israelite women today. But it was not an abortion because the children were already born. But this, I believe, was in part a payback, because the law of God requires blood for blood in some cases. And the case of flat-out murder of innocent children, we can see that this obviously was probably connected and pertained to that. It was a blood-for-blood trade, the firstborn being the most valuable among the children. The firstborn of the oppressor, the Egyptian, was taken. And kind of a twofold plan, I believe. They were taken as a way of showing the Israelites the power of their God, showing the Pharaoh the last final arm twisting to release the Israelites and allow them to take the possessions that rightfully belonged to them. It was by the sweat of their foreheads, by the tears and blood of their hard work that obtained all that wealth of the oppressor, the Egyptians, and it was rightfully theirs. That was just an example of justice being served. However, I don't believe that God ever forgotten that day where the Israelite children were slaughtered by the thousands by the Egyptians. That was a blood-for-blood trade. But looking back into 2014, into the 14 words in which we talked about, and the chapter 8 reference in Mein Kampf. It goes along with the what we're looking forward to in the year 2015 with the where he makes reference to, so that our people may mature for the fulfillment of the mission allotted it by the Creator of the universe. We're not going to be able to fulfill our mission that was allotted to us by the Creator. We're not going to be able to do this unless we are released from the chains of bondage. And it does not even have to be physical bondage where you're tied up and someone's standing there with a whip with a slave driver and all that. But we have mental bondage as well, because our people, the Israelite people and our nation, are in bondage mentally to the awareness of the need to mature for the fulfillment of the mission allotted by the Creator, simply because they believe in a Babylonian idea, Babylonianistic idea, that goes along with, I'm getting off point again, the one where, let's make this statement though, in the latter part of 2014, just a few months ago, marked the time of the near completion of the One World Tower that replaced the Twin Towers in New York, in New Babylon. That set the marker for the agenda of the people of this nation. They've set the tower in this nation, and this is, I believe, what the melting pot theory is. They are trying to bring this melting pot theory to America, which they already have, but they've not quite successfully turned it into a complete Babylon. But they've turned the minds of the people into a Babylonian mindset, where race doesn't matter. So that is the agenda, that is the mission of our people now, us who are aware, is to awaken the people to to acknowledge the racial difference, to acknowledge the need to find the true God of our race and the true mission of our people, so that we may fulfill that mission. I have a message coming up entitled, well, I don't have a title for it, but it's basically talking about that mission, the mission of our people, that goes quite along in the line with a National Socialist, a Nazi theory, which predates the Nazis by quite a bit. And it's talking more about the blood and soil, the Adamic mission, our purpose here on earth, and what we are supposed to be doing, and that'll all be coming on later, and we'll get into this more then. But I just wanted to introduce that. For the year 2015, we remember the release of our people. We remember that their mindset was on the Promised Land. They received back what was rightfully theirs. They received their freedom from the oppressor, and then they were now able to establish a racially dominated government, governed by the one and only King, who is the God Almighty, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of their fathers. They could once again follow the old law and follow the God of their forefathers. They no longer had the foreigner over them. They no longer were subjected to the rule of a racially foreign people. They could now follow the old law of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their forefathers, and they were granted a new land, or actually, if we want to be technical, they were given back the Promised Land, the land of Canaan, and that became their Promised Land, the land flowing with milk and honey. That was the fatherland of their people, and that was the birthplace, or it was during the 40 years prior from the day of release to the day that they obtained the Promised Land. That 40 years was when they entered into a new covenant, and that is when the law of our much portions of our law was given, as we have recorded today. Not that the law did not exist before that, which it did, but the law was given, and we became well acquainted with our God once again. So that is the focus for the year 2015, is to bring us back into the acknowledgement of that law, acknowledgement of our race, and the need to keep it pure.